Avery, whose show is this? Good morning. Oh, nope, wrong intro. That is for the lowdown. We'll do that again. And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined on this fine Monday evening by you guys. You guys are going to be the guest for this episode. As I go through all of the mailbags that we have a packed iTunes mailbag. We have a few questions from Discord that I have to get to. I asked for questions on Twitter, and you guys came through there as well. And then obviously here with the live audience, I'm going to answer as many of the questions as I can possibly get to from that portion of the audience as well. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your podcast, as we continue to build out the RSS feed. And then if you guys are watching live, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that share button, all of those good things. And let's go ahead and dive on in. I'm in a very good mood. Got some great news that I cannot wait to share with you guys probably pretty soon, actually, as far as like the lounge and our kind of rotating cast of guests and stuff like that, and the local market. Can't wait to be able to share that with you whenever I can. And then my Vikings won their 12th game of the season, beating the crap out of the Chicago Bears tonight on national TV. That was also fun to watch. So things are good here in the Irwin household. So good that I am willing to entertain whatever trade rumor that you want to throw at me, and give my thoughts on whatever rumor or name or whatever that you would like me to give my thoughts on. Today on the show, we're going to be talking a little bit about the reports that the Chicago Bulls are going to be, quote, aggressively shopping Lonzo Ball, and this notion that they would, be willing to part with him for only a couple second rounders or second round draft compensation. And then obviously the necessary contracts that they would bring in. So we'll talk a little bit about that and whether he makes sense for the Lakers. I'll give a quick update on what I have heard about the Lakers activity in the trade market over the last couple of days, now that we are fully into trade season, or at least into the first kind of upgraded iteration of trade season. And then I will dive on into, we have, it looks like 4 or 5 iTunes questions. We have a few Discord ones as well. Busy show. Let's go ahead and get this thing started by first talking about old friend Lonzo Ball. So Lonzo went from there being real doubt that he would ever walk right again to being able to play this season. Now, he has played very sparingly. I think tonight was only his 10th game of the season that he has participated in. Does not have the same athleticism that he had even, certainly a couple of years ago. He has actually spoken about the impact that playing in those cheap, big baller brand shoes might have had on him early in his career. And, he is now kind of fighting to get his body back under control to be able to extend his career. Looks like he is going to be in the NBA for a little bit longer than was thought, maybe a year or so ago. But from what I have heard, even though the Bulls are basically just like, hey, give us enough expiring money, or a young player, and like second round draft compensation, and we can start that talk about Lonzo Ball. Even given that low, bargain basement price, I'm told that the Lakers are probably going to look elsewhere first. A lot of concern over Lonzo's health. A lot of concerns over, even if he does play this season well enough to get paid, there's real concern as far as like whether or not you want to pay the guy after playing, his first healthy season in a few years. And then, the Lakers just seem to think that their assets, because they only have one big expiring contract at their disposal in Lonzo Ball, and you can only trade, or D'Angelo Russell. You can only trade D'Angelo Russell once. So that really complicates what the Lakers would be looking to do in this situation. Now, I would have preferred, if you were going to trade for Lonzo, I would have preferred that they traded for him yesterday, or I guess like today. But, if you guys are watching live, yesterday, if you guys are listening to this in podcast form, because then you could have reused Lonzo's expiring contract later in the trade deadline. Obviously, that didn't happen, and whoever lands Lonzo Ball is not going to be able to move him again. The Lakers, I know that there was some talk online today about like, well, why not just wait until he's bought out? Because look, if the initial reports on Lonzo Ball is that all they're hoping for is some second round draft pick compensation, that probably means that he's going to get bought out if he so chooses. Um, we just saw the other day, right? Dennis Schroeder, the rumors coming into trade season was that Dennis Schroeder, they were hoping to get a first round pick for Dennis Schroeder and a first round pick for Dorian Finney-Smith and multiple first round picks for Cam Johnson. And obviously Schroeder goes for a couple second rounders. And I would imagine Dorian Finney-Smith will probably go for a few second rounders or a heavily protected first round pick. And then Cam Johnson will probably fetch them one first round pick, maybe two, with a lot of protection on the second one. For the Bulls to come out and say like, yeah, we're hoping to get some second rounders for this guy, like at the onset here of this conversation, would lead me to believe that eventually if he, if he departs Chicago, Lonzo will probably do so via buyout. And unfortunately, because of where the Lakers sit in apron world, they would not be able to get involved there unless they do a ton of work to get under the first apron. Because if you are above the first apron in this new CBA, you are not allowed to sign a player who was bought out and was making more than the uh, mid-level exception at the time of his being bought out. So that really kind of limits the ways that the Lakers can go out and get Lonzo Ball. I know that they aren't over the moon about potentially trading for the guy at the amount of money that they'd have to send out and all that stuff. And I know Chicago isn't going to be all that interested in taking on Gabe Vincent's contract, the second year of that contract, when they send out an expiring contract in Lonzo Ball. So, yeah, from a basketball standpoint, I love the fit. If we knew that Lonzo was going to stay healthy, he gets after it defensively, good catch and shoot threat, doesn't need to spend a whole bunch of time on the ball, is more likely to buy into a role than I think D'Angelo Russell is at this stage of his career. If I could trade for Lonzo Ball and turn off injuries, I would say, hell yes, let's do it. If I could trade for Lonzo Ball and Robert Williams and turn off injuries, I'd say, hell yes, let's do it. If I could trade for Lonzo Ball or Robert Williams and have like Guggenheim running the Lakers and know that they invested every single penny that they could into getting and keeping players healthy, whereas Jeannie Buss tends to skimp on those kinds of expenditures, I would say, yes, go out and get those guys. And let's see if we can, continue that trend that the Dodgers have been able to take advantage of. But as it stands right now, the Lakers do not invest the most money in the league in their medical practices with the team. They do not have a great track record of getting or keeping guys healthy, and thus it kind of takes you out of the running for a Robert Williams. It takes you out of the running for a Lonzo Ball, and really kind of limits what your organization can do in these kinds of situations. So I wish Lonzo nothing but the best. Hoping that he arrives in the right kind of situation. Chicago, right, is another team and organization that tends to skimp on their medical practices and have a brutal track record when it comes to keeping guys healthy or getting and keeping guys healthy. Almost like actually almost killed Luol Deng while he was there with a staph infection. So like, you know, when it comes to Lonzo's next destination, I'm hoping it's in a situation that he can get and stay healthy and remain in the NBA, because when he is healthy, he is one of my absolute favorite players to watch play. Just an, prototypical modern point guard to have next to an elite, ball handling wing. Just got to stay healthy. So all the best to Lonzo, but I do not think the Lakers are an option for him. As far as the other Lakers options go, there's just not much to report here, right? It's the same right now as it was 24 hours ago, as it was 48 hours ago. The Lakers called Washington and tried to, kind of update that conversation. And from what I've heard, that conversation just kind of wound up back at the Lakers not wanting to give up multiple second rounders for Jonas Valanciunas, and they are willing to wait this out to see if that competition dwindles down for him at that time. Washington wants to see if they can get more than the Lakers are willing to pay right now. The Lakers, I think, right now would like to give up just one second rounder for Jonas, from what I've heard, and Washington would like to get back at least two. And the Lakers, just, having seen Dennis Schroeder, a starting point guard, go for a net of 2 second rounders, the Lakers are like, this guy's going to play less than Schroeder will. He will be less of a factor on our team than Schroeder will be for Golden State. And he has a couple years beyond the season on his contract. So no, we are not going to give up, the 2 or 3 second rounders that Washington is asking for right now. So I would imagine that those conversations will kind of carry forward. What I do know, though, is that when it comes to the relationships that Rob Pelinka has around the league, his relationship with Washington's front office is one of the better ones. So I would imagine those conversations will become more productive than they were over the last 24, 48 hours or so. And, as far as their options elsewhere, it's too early to try and go and pry the guys out of Brooklyn. It's too early to go and get Kuz out of Washington and all that stuff without paying a price that the Lakers are just not willing to pay right now. So the improvements that the Lakers are going to be looking to make here, for the foreseeable future, are probably going to have to be and remain internal, and we'll see how effective those are moving forward. All right. We have a ton of questions to go ahead and dive in on after all of that rambling. So I'm going to start with iTunes, as I always do, because these tend to really help the show on iTunes and Apple's algorithm. So we'll start here with Q Breezy 12 last Tuesday asking, is it too early or foolish to start thinking about Luca? He can opt out after next season when LeBron is off of the books. Would be a perfect fit and pick and roll partner with AD. Is there any chance he doesn't sign that extension? Look, if he gets the Supermax extension, he is signing it. And then it's just a matter of like him trying to like force his way out of Dallas after signing the contract. Had they not made the Western Conference Finals last year, I think the Lakers, like, I think this would be a conversation that is worth having, internally for the Lakers. But as they made not just the Western Conference Finals, but made the actual finals last year and appear to be one of the two best teams in the Western Conference again this season, um, I think it probably is a little too much to hope for Luca Doncic here moving forward. I get the fit. I think it'll really help. Obviously, he would really help, but I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon. Dallas is very good at keeping their guys, and they just, Mark Cuban sold a chunk of the organization to some, gambling money, which opens up and deepens their pockets even further. I think Dallas is as an organization is not going anywhere, and as an extension of that, I don't think Luca will be leaving Dallas anytime soon. The next one here comes from Viva Exceptionalism, who writes, Anthony, from prior posts that I love your show, the best Lakers podcast in my view. Thank you very much. I do, however, have questions/comments on your Write It Out versus Rebuild episode. I'm open to these conversations. I really, truly am. All right. So Exceptionalism writes, you understandably do not want to rebuild in the hands of the current front office, but unless the Bus family sells, what makes you think Rob will be gone by the time the Write It Out is complete? That's a fair point. 2, what does, quote, write it out mean to you? To me, it means you stand pat to the end and under no circumstances give up draft capital. Otherwise, it's the worst of both worlds. If you want to rebuild, you don't start by trading LeBron, you trade AD. That should get you at least 2 to 3 decent first rounders in return. Then you hope/expect LeBron to opt out and either go elsewhere or retire. But even if he opts in, it's just one more year. Then his salary slot opens up. You'll then have picks and some cap flexibility. Thanks and take care. So the problem, like it's like I said on that show, the problem with this notion of like blowing it up is you don't have your pick this year. So whatever work you do to fall in the standings is just going to go to Atlanta. So like I think you write out this season, and even as you write it out, I would, you know, see if there's like some bad money that you can take on moving forward at a discount, see if there is some younger talent and younger athleticism out there that you could potentially add to your roster as kind of a flyer as you round out the season. And then, depending on how things go at the end of it, right? Or as you get closer to the trade deadline, depending on where you stand in the standings, maybe you reevaluate things then. The whole like rebuild right now, like right this second aspect of it, like I just don't see it. And I don't think it's something that the Lakers are all that interested in. Here's the thing, and this is frankly all that matters when we talk about the practicality of any of these situations or scenarios. The Lakers are not comfortable existing without a star in their organization, whether that be Anthony Davis, whether that be LeBron James. Like Jeannie Buss will not even acknowledge the possibility of owning the Lakers without one of LeBron or AD still in the fold. By the time those guys are both ready to move on, that I think is when you start to see you'll start to hear rumors of the Busses maybe talking to Guggenheim about like switching places on the totem pole and moving forward that way. So any of these conversations about like whether or not the Lakers could or should or might bottom out and embrace a rebuild in like now, it's just not going to happen. And to me, if you aren't going to embrace a rebuild And if you aren't going to, try to bottom out, whether that be this year or next, then just compete. Like, look, um, I am of the opinion that it is far more worthwhile to go down swinging and go out guns a blazing, than it is to hold on to some, peripheral assets and maybe, just maybe, start your rebuild with an extra first rounder here and there, or start your rebuild, maybe a year or two earlier. Um, I just don't trust this front office to kick off a rebuild, or let alone execute a full on rebuild. So I would just try to maximize whatever time you have left with LeBron, whatever time you have left with Anthony Davis, whatever time you have left with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and then address the future when the future comes. And look, I get it. Like, from a practicality standpoint, I understand the fans out there who's like, no, um, that's not the practical way to go about this. I get that. If you're just talking about, raw and clear practicality. But I just I think it would send a really bad message for Jeannie Buss to take over the organization from Jim Buss because he wasn't competing in the way that she thought he should have been, to then arrive here with LeBron and AD still capable. Both of them are still capable of playing basketball at an extremely high level. And then to basically look at both of those guys and be like, yeah, but you know, after all of the hullabaloo that you and the noise that you made, and all of the muscles that Jeannie Buss strained, patting herself on the back for taking the organization away from Jim, like, you can't do all of that stuff and take all of those victory laps and then turn around only like less than a decade later and do a lot of the same stuff. That's where I stand. Let's go one more. We have one more here from the Lakers Fedora, who writes, "Hey Anthony, thanks for always getting to the reviews that I leave here. I know they don't provide the monetary value, but they'll always be 5 stars. No, they do legitimately help us. So I greatly appreciate it. To those of you who take the time to leave these reviews. Bit of a hot take here, and I know it's totally wishful thinking or unlikely, but I really hope the quote personal reasons LeBron is sitting out for is strictly because he's boycotting / protesting this front office for just how truly of an abysmal job they've been doing every chance they get. It's sad to say, but I almost feel like the only way to force their hand at this point is to make the embarrassment not loud, but very public. Ty Lue slammed them recently, mentioning phone calls between him and LeBron. LeBron is sitting out. The optimist in me is hoping this is LeBron trying to send a message. Thanks again for reading this and all the great work that you do. Have a great holiday season." Thank you very much, man. That those words mean a lot. It was funny. Facebook always sends those reminders of what happened X amount of years ago, and got a reminder the other day of a review that Pete and I got, however many years ago that was, um, of somebody basically telling us how much the show meant to them, and that's the kind of stuff that, like, it's cool that I get to do this for a living, and it's cool to watch this stuff grow and the opportunities that it has afforded me and my family and all of that. But seeing how much this show means to people listening on a day in day out basis, like, that's the stuff that hits you right there. But yeah, as far as, like, LeBron boycotting and stuff like that, Anthony Davis said that LeBron had some stuff going on. Didn't elaborate. LeBron didn't want to elaborate, obviously, on his personal life either. So I'm just going to take LeBron and AD and the people around that situation at their word, and just say that, like, LeBron wanted some extra rest, and for good reason. Whenever you have the opportunity to basically play, like, LeBron will have, by the time this next game rolls around on Thursday, he'll have played like one game in the last week and a half or so, that's a good thing for a 40-year-old man, trying to compete against guys in their early 20s. So, I would love to be able to throw some lighter fluid on those rumors and or that speculation that LeBron and AD were really fed up with this possibility that Rob Pelinka might sit on his hands again going through another transaction window. But I really think this is an Occam's razor situation, and LeBron saw an opportunity to get a little bit of extra rest and is going to do and did just that. Holy crap, we have 7 starred comments, which means we get to play this thing, and I need to like rest my voice or recuperate my voice. 7 starred comments, and that's let me just make sure I didn't miss any up at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 looks like. All right, cool. All right, so Rye Guy kicks us off with Lonzo, Cam Johnson, and Kessler would be a home run for Rob between their picks and salary. I think they have enough. Cap went for just one and some salary. Well, Cat also went for a starting caliber power forward in Julius Randle. Now, yes, Randle is on an expiring contract, but like when Minnesota is able to trade Cat for a guy who can kind of maintain Cat-ish levels of play, that's kind of why that trade went down the way that it did. All right, so let's go name by name. Lonzo went over him, or went over that name earlier in the show. I don't really see that as a possibility here because of the injury concerns that the Lakers have with Lonzo Ball. If Lonzo ever is a Laker again, I think the likeliest path to that kind of reunion would be over the summer, and Lonzo signing is a minimum type like flyer signing, depending on how this season goes. Cam Johnson, checked in on him, and his price is through the roof. Brooklyn, I think, is kind of. I think Brooklyn understands that at best you'll get a protected first for Dorian Finney-Smith by the time the trade deadline rolls around, and that's if you field offers all the way from now till then. So the guy that they see as an opportunity to really, uh, have a shot in the arm here for the rebuild would be Cam Johnson, and moving him. And the price on him is just for Cam Johnson, as it stands right now, is at least 2 good picks, like not, Oklahoma City's own first rounders that, are going to be in the 30s. Brooklyn is expecting like high caliber first round picks, and a couple of them at the very least to move Cam Johnson. And I don't really know at his price point how many teams are actually able to do that asset wise and money wise. So we'll see how that plays out. And then Walker Kessler, from what I've been able to gather, is just not on the table anymore. Rye Guy also writes, would you ever have a fan slash listener on your show? I've thought about doing that. I had a good time there for a little while. Opening, like, posting the link to my Twitter account that would allow people to pop here into the studio. Here's my thing, and it's not an elitist thing on my part, I swear. I'm fine with people who don't do this for a living, just talking about basketball and the ums and the uhs that come with it and the filler words that come with that. Or even some of like the takes that can sometimes come completely out of left field. Like, honestly, as somebody who like produces these shows and has been producing these shows for years now, it's the audio quality. So if there was a way And maybe like as the show grows, like I would like to be able to bring on a producer here, to be able to handle some of these things and maybe screen some callers and stuff like that so that the audio quality isn't such a step back, because that's all stuff that I then need to address in post editing and stuff like that. So I would love to do it or do some version of that. um, it's just a matter of finding a way to execute that and because like we have lounge VIPs, and I have had lounge VIPs on the show in the past, and those shows were really really fun. It's tougher to do those in the season because there's so much normally going on. But in the off season for sure, I will definitely give it a go to see how well we can execute that concept. Dean Tarr writes, do I expect any deal to be done this week? What are some of the out of the box trade targets that haven't been discussed that you think the Lakers have looked into? Well, all right. So first question, do I expect any deal to be done this week? Expect? No. But I still think there's a non-zero chance Jonas Valanciunas is a Laker by the end of the week. Now non-zero can be anything, and I know that it's kind of a cheater word that I can use there, but I do think there's still a bit of a chance that Jonas specifically can be a Laker by the end of the week. Um, Now I guess, and I spoke to Pete today to confirm this, but he's of the opinion that perhaps Jackson Hayes could be back here in the next like week or so. Um, I'm a little dubious on that front because it was a non-contact injury on an ankle that had already been bugging Jackson. I would, the Lakers need him back, to be absolutely clear. But as far as like, you know, anything that the Lakers could do soon, I don't quite see it. Um, it would be a bit of an upset if the Lakers are able to bring in somebody, in short order now. The problem that they're running into is that nobody wants Gabe Vincent's contract. Um, he has an extra year on his deal. Teams want expirings. The only expiring that the Lakers have is D'Angelo Russell, and you can only trade D'Angelo Russell once. So the Lakers are going to be extremely choosy when it comes to trading D'Lo. And the Lakers, I don't think right now feel so desperate that they want to expend an extra second rounder just to attach Gabe Vincent's contract to, or just to move Gabe's contract. So you have all of that going on. What are some out of the box trade targets that haven't been discussed that you think the Lakers have looked into? Out of the box, out of the box, out of the box. Um, Names that I haven't spoken about. I feel like we've covered a lot of names over the last week or so. It's like guys that like would be throw-ins, right? So like Torrey Craig is a name that I have kind of my eye on. If the Lakers do figure something out with Chicago, I know Chicago would really like to move Nikola Vucevic. And I know the Lakers, some people in the Lakers organization are a lot higher on Vooch than others. And then if the Lakers do go out and get Vooch, maybe you try to talk them into Torrey Craig. There was that report from last week that has been kind of uh uh that like my friends covering the Blazers have rebutted rebuttal anyway, rebuked. I think that's okay. The that like, Jeremy Grant's asking price has actually dropped from 2 first rounders down to 1. I have heard, I, I can't speak too much to like what Portland is willing to accept for Jeremy Grant. What I have heard is that nobody in the NBA is at all interested in trading for trading multiple first round picks for Jeremy Grant in that contract. So, we'll see, unstoppable force and immovable object there. But yeah, like dark horse trade targets, they're like the dark horse trade targets are the ones that like are going to be very uninspiring right now, and as it stands right now, like, the Lakers, look, here's how I'll put it. I have, from what I have gathered, the Lakers' focus right now is internal improvement, and somewhat annoying to be able to have to say that, but the Lakers still think that there's a good team in here somewhere, to quote Raj, and they want to see that version of the team first before they start kind of addressing holes in the roster, for fear of opening up holes elsewhere in the roster by addressing the team's current issues. J1 writes, AD is a big but small mentally. He gets pumped up against other defensive player of the year candidates. Why doesn't he do this against everyone else? My least favorite Lakers star. The Lakers have had a lot of stars. So, like, it's kind of like being the world's poorest billionaire. I think you're still a billionaire. Here's what I'll say about AD on that front. And this is the part of it that like drives me crazy sometimes watching him, is that like there are games where like you're going into it and you're like, all right, this has to be a monster Anthony Davis game. And then you watch him play and it wasn't that monster Anthony Davis game. That's what drives me crazy watching him play. So like I totally understand fans who, pick up on that same kind of vibe and get frustrated by it. But like least favorite Lakers star. I guess it just depends on how you define star, right? Like if Powell didn't play with Kobe, would Powell be as popular as he was? If Powell played with a 38-year-old Kobe rather than, the prime Kobe who was able to get Powell to a couple of championships, would that affect how we view Powell? Like if we want to do the math of like which Lakers stars left the most on the table, then it has to be Shaq, right? Shaq left the most on the table by, with all the company time nonsense and his inability to get along with Kobe. So like, like least favorite star still kind of sounds like a compliment, because Lakers star is a pretty cool fraternity to participate in. All right. Justin Tyndall writes, it's beyond hilarious to me that she fired Blood, but flat out refuses to fire Pelinka. Look, man, if you ever watched Succession, like some of those family dynamics with these uber rich families is very tricky, and you have people prioritizing friendship and mud over blood. So that that's it's tough luck for Jimmy Bus and for Johnny Bus. But look, on the same token, those guys tried to perform a coup on their flesh and blood too. So like, these things, when you get into situations where there are hundreds of $1,000,000 or billions of dollars on the line, and with some of these succession plans or these will and testaments and stuff like that, like it gets tricky. It's like I have my family has experience on both ends of the spectrum. When my mom's mom died, she had all of like a few $1,000s to her name and a house that was worth like $30,000 in like central El Paso. Um, and you had there was like some drama over who got what and stuff like that, but the amounts of money were so little that like at the end of the day, like we were all able to just kind of like focus on remembering my grandma. Like Avery's middle name is Natalia, like named after my grandma, right? Somebody I actually pray to. And the other end of that spectrum is like my dad's parents who, you know, passed away with, big inheritances. And yeah, I remember like watching some family members show up to their house like months before they were even like moved out of their house, and put like sticky notes on items around the house. Um, and like watching how disgusting that looked, So you never know how people are going to respond to succession plans and how families are going to handle all of that stuff. Um, Look, Palenka was a lot more loyal to Jeannie Buss than Jim or Johnny Buss ever were. And I think that played a big role in and continues to play a big role in Jeannie's just complete unwillingness to even consider anybody else for Rob Palenka's gig. J1 again comes with another starred comment here. One, so Reeves and the 29 first for Herb Jones, or two, or scenario number two, D'Lo, Rui, and Vando, and Jalen Hood-Schifino for Levine, Terry, Terry. I don't know who Terry is. Craig is Torrey Craig. And then the third scenario is Gabe Vincent in 3 seconds for Jonas Valanciunas, all bases. Oh, so steps along the path there, or the path. The reports right now are that New Orleans isn't even listening to offers for Herb Jones. So that's a non-starter there. I don't know who Terry even would be. Like, I'm trying to think of who Terry from Chicago would be, and I'm blanking. So, I don't know what to like, unless, some live comments have an idea of who Terry Craig would, or who Terry is. But Perry, is there a Terry? I don't know. Um, I don't think the Lakers are interested in Zach LaVine's contract. I think under the previous CBA, I think Levine would probably already be a Laker, especially given the way that he's playing so far this year. But under this current CBA, there, I don't think Levine moves this season, and which is absolutely crazy that teams would look at a guard who is playing the way that Levine is playing and be like, yeah, it's still too expensive, and I think that's how this plays out. Still trying to think. Oh, Dalen Terry. All right. Dalen Terry, he's the kind of player that Chicago would be looking to hold on to for their rebuild. So, um, like he's too young to be included. Like if the Lakers like a young player from one of these teams that might be getting ready for a rebuild, the team that's getting ready for the rebuild probably likes that player. Thanks for the help, though. I appreciate it. To those of you who pointed out who Dalen Terry is, I hadn't even thought about him for those reasons, though. That like I don't think he is going to be available as the Bulls get ready for the next like era of their franchise. Alicia Clark Jones writes, any Vando update? The latest on Vando is that there is no update on Vando. We are sitting here. I'm recording this on December 16th. Some of you guys will be listening to this in pod form on December 17th. We are probably a couple of weeks from, or probably a few weeks from some real clarity on Vando's situation. January 1st is a big day for the Lakers. If we get to January 1st and the update on Vando is like, not really an update, then you can probably kiss Vando's season goodbye. because at that point, just too much time missed, too much conditioning that he would need to participate in. Like the tough part with Vando is that it's a series of lower body issues, which makes it really hard to keep your conditioning up or get your conditioning up even when you are finally healthy. So I don't know. Like we have a matter of a couple of weeks from here gets us to December 30th. So a couple of weeks and some change. And if the news isn't immediately good on Vando, then I don't know if we're going to see Vando. All right, final starred comment here. JK Lobos writes, "How many picks will DeJounte Murray go for? The Bulls want a first for Vooch. Do you think they get it? He's better than Jonas, but it will take D'Lo and Hayes." So Murray, I don't think David Griffin is so afraid for his job that he feels the need to just like get more than he gave up for DeJounte Murray right away. But like that said, the David Griffin era in New Orleans has been pretty underwhelming. And some of that has a lot to do with the injury stuff. A lot of it has to do, frankly, with Zion Williamson just clearly kind of biding his time to get to New York and then get in shape. So like there's some of the stuff that is just like beyond David Griffin's control. But, that said, you traded Anthony Davis and you don't have very much at all to show for the post AD era. And now they're getting ready for potentially another rebuild after an absolutely disastrous start to this season. So uh I think if they trade DeJounte Murray, they'll have to get at least what they got, at least what they gave up for him, if not maybe a little bit more, just so that Griffin can kind of go to ownership and be like, see, well, we at least flipped this guy for a few extra assets. I don't like truly no idea how the rest of the season plays out in New Orleans. It's an absolute mess, an abject disaster. All right, we do have I asked for questions from Twitter. It is a busy, busy night here. I love these mailbag shows though. You guys keep me on my toes and hit me with some great questions. So I'm going to go ahead and answer the ones I'll answer the one that we have here from somebody who proved that they are subscribed to the show here on YouTube. Laker Supply writes, could we see Rob jump on the net selling very early, giving away their best player for 2 seconds? I can't imagine the value for Dorian Finney-Smith more than 2 seconds, and Cam is a first. Um, I I don't know. I think they probably consider Cam a better player than Dennis Schroeder. Um, I look, they are holding out for multiple firsts for Cam Johnson, and they are holding out for a first for Dorian Finney-Smith right now. If the Lakers want to move quickly and trade a first right now for Dorian Finney-Smith, I think that probably gets it over the finish line, and they can kind of start moving forward that way. But I think the Lakers and the rest of the league, by the way, is waiting to see if that price drops to the point where it doesn't cost a first rounder for Dorian Finney-Smith, who like does help you win, but doesn't exactly like isn't like a bona fide difference maker. By the way, incredible game here between Sacramento and Denver. It's freaking Jokic. Jokic just sunk a 3-pointer with 30 seconds to go. Sacramento has the ball. Let's just play through this. De'Aaron Fox with the ball on the right wing. He's dribbling. You have DeRozan dunks on Jamal Murray to take the lead. All right. Wow. DeRozan, incredible clutch player. Jamal Murray looks like a shell of himself this year. DeRozan just put him in the basket. It is 129-128. Sacramento. Wow, what a finish to this game. It didn't look like it was going to be this close, but Denver kind of came roaring back. What a great matchup here. Sacramento low-key like desperately needs this win. Like they need to right their season around, turn their season around. The DeMar DeRozan acquisition has not gone as they have planned. But anyway, yeah, I think as far as like the Nets selling early or making their moves early, the only way that you're going to be able to convince them to do that is by paying way up, and I don't think the Lakers are interested in doing that. So we'll see how that goes. That I think is going to do it here for this episode, though, of the Lakers Lounge podcast. Right after this, I'm going to hop on and record tonight's lowdown. Shouts to all of you guys who've been listening and downloading that version of the show. Those have immediately become very popular. So hope you guys checked out as well. Thank you to everybody who got your questions in, however you got them in. And I will be getting to the remainder of some of those. Look, like tomorrow, I'm going to have Jovan on for a home and home tomorrow evening. So I will do, Jovan will be here in the lounge, and then I'll be, I'll go on Jovan's show afterward, or vice versa, however we're going to do it. And you know, if we have some kind of straggling questions, I'll go ahead and ask him some of those as well. But yeah, we'll, there's Aaron Gordon with a bucket. There's that Jamal. Jamal puts Denver up ahead with 8 seconds to go. What an insane game between Denver and Sacramento. And somehow happened without the cup. It's crazy. That is going to do it, though. Please do hit me with whatever questions you guys have in the form of a 5-star review. I will get to those whenever I possibly can. Fun couple of shows to round out the rest of the week before we get to Thursday and the Lakers finally play again. And until then, and until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying, have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button. And I'll talk to you soon. Here's Avery.
Bye, everyone.